Let's talk about what is consciousness or woke, because you got a lot of people talking about woke and consciousness and whatnot. But I want you to understand something, man. You ever heard somebody say, are you conscious of what you're doing? You know, and the reason they say that is for a specific reason. The reason we use certain words in our language and we're not even like conscious of why we use them or what we're saying, why we even use these words, is because you're just completely rooted in the consciousness in the body. You hear what I'm saying? Consciousness and woke. I'm going to start with this. How conscious and how lucid are you when you go to sleep? The moment you sleep, do you go to sleep or do you just fall asleep? Do you observe the moments you just wake up and the moments you just fell asleep? Do you observe that moment? Do you observe your body falling asleep and you're actually still conscious? Okay, do you observe that experience when you start to merge into a dream realm? Do you observe when you wake up? There's moments that I felt my body asleep, and for some reason I was able to still kind of peek my eye open. And in the process of me peeking my eye open, I know my body was still asleep, but I was able to manage to pretty much crack my eye open, and all I saw was a bunch of spirals everywhere with little numbers in them, which I thought was the weirdest thing. That happened to me a couple of times. Okay, so this time I still can't explain what that is. But the whole thing is I was able to observe the moment I was awake without being awake. Okay? Awake without being awake. When you're in a lucid dream, when you start to see how things are performing in the moment you just become conscious and lucid in there, right? See, that's all an awareness, a self-awareness. Because again, you're the only one in the dream, right? With a bunch of characters, but it's all in your head. So you're not dreaming this dream with anybody else. It's all in your head. So when you become aware, then you're self-aware of yourself and the people around you. You're in this experience right now. You're aware of this reality. However, you ever hear somebody say, hey man, put yourself in my shoes, bro. You know, I'm going through this and you don't understand, but put yourself in my shoes and try to think about what I'm trying to tell you. You ever hear people say that? Things like that is on a surface light level. You're putting yourself in other people's shoes. When you watch the media, when you watch movies, you're having an experience. Your brain or your mind doesn't know the difference between a real or a fake experience. You're experiencing it nonetheless, right? So now, being conscious and woke, let's talk about this very carefully. When you eat foods, okay? When you eat, for example, animal protein, animal meat, okay? You're eating it in hopes of nutrifying your body, right? But there's something else that you have to process aside from the complex chemistry of the matter, the physical that you're processing. You're also processing the complex emotions and let's say, whatever conditions or state the animal went through. You're eating all that also. You are processing that. You're experiencing that as well. This is why sometimes people may come out with certain low vibrational feelings and not know why they are arising at certain circumstances or certain situations in your life. They just come up. And you don't know why. And then you go into a doctor's office and they give you antidepressants or whatnot, right? When you have certain people tell you that, you know, the information you're listening to online as far as melanin and, you know, how one race has a hierarchy over another. Like black people may have hierarchy over a white person because they have melanin, and the white person can't evolve because they don't have access to that melanin. You get what I'm saying? And then let's say, upon hearing that information, that white person may end up hating themselves. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's just ignorance, because everybody has access to this substance, this non-formless dark father. You're not a bastard if you know your father, right? So this is why everybody is sort of like a bastard, because you don't know your father. The dark father, dark matter, dark mother, whatever it may be, is this melanin. How do you know you have access to this melanin? A white person can have more access to this melanin just from just the soul that that moves them, that they put into their projects. You can hear music and it makes you move, it makes you dance. You'll dance in certain ways, and that's melanin. You had access to melanin. If you're in flow when you're doing something, you have access to melanin. Your creativity, that's access to melanin. When you start to do things with a passion, you found your life's purpose, and then you do it with passion where money is not a thing, that's access to melanin. So what is the money? Money is now attracted to you. You get what I'm saying? Because you're not chasing money. You're more of a magnetic type of energy. That's access to melanin, right? No different than a woman being a woman, right? That's the physical manifestation of the expression of feminine energy, right? This is attractive energy. That's why I say women are attractive, right? So a man wants to be a manly man, but he can't be a manly man, or actually that's just the physical aspect of what we would consider manly. But to have a grasp on that masculine true energy, you have to first have a grasp on that feminine energy. That feminine energy is darkness, right? It's a magnetic energy, but out of darkness comes light, right? You are an electromagnetic being, right? You are a positive and negative charged individual with neutrons, right? You are also alkaline and acid at the same time, right? So think about this though. This realm is ran on polarities and duality. Otherwise it wouldn't exist, right? But that completion starts from you. When you're complete, you'll attract a complete partner, right? So let's say, for example, I've heard examples of, people saying that if you're a white person and you're loved by a black person, then you have access to that melanin, right? That's just in physical form. That's why I made the example in my previous video about you can take drugs, but you'll just have an experience if your mind is not right, because you're in hopes of being enlightened and whatnot. You have to have your mind right, and you have to have a certain level of knowledge before you engage in these drugs to really truly say, I am enlightened, because the enlightenment is not going to come from the plants outside of you. So the melanated individual that fell in love with you is not going to make you evolve either. However, when you're complete, you'll find a complete partner. Okay? You'll find a complete partner. And you as a walking virus, right? The other person as a walking virus, when you have sex, you're downloading each other, right? This is because the viruses are responsible for the evolution of why you're even here. See, at the death process, this is where the virus, all right, merges with the DNA, okay? And it is able to help evolve. Now, viruses are bad, and there's really gnarly viruses, and then there's the good viruses. Okay? So keep in mind, you consist of trillions of viruses in your body. Okay? Now, in the death process, this can happen in physical form as well. I can detach from a relationship that's not serving me. I'm detaching from a gnarly virus. So I let that go. I detached. Now I work on myself. I'm working on myself, because if not, what I'm going to do, based on my frequency and vibration, I'm attracting another virus in another body. I'm attracting the same virus, just in another body. That's what I'm doing. So you know what I'm doing is no different than just becoming dependent on somebody outside of me to basically help me to feel complete, because I don't feel complete. That's kind of like what medications do. You become dependent on medications rather than the body working on its own, producing its own elixirs to build defenses toward these things. You actually raise your vibration a little bit, right? You change your frequency. You're on a different channel, so your vibe attracts your tribe. You'll attract somebody else, right? That's going to be beneficial to you. But the more complete you are as far as a masculine, feminine, electric, magnetic, balanced in acids and alkaline, right? Your body's neutral-based dominance, isn't it? So then, what are you attracting? You attract what you are, right? Your world, the way you perceive it, you see it for how you are. You don't see it for how it is. So all that corruption that you see outside of you, there's still corruption in you. All right? Unless you work on yourself, you won't change that perception. And again, when you're a melanated individual and you're listening to information and it's making you feel prideful, you're attaching yourself to humanity even more. And the key is to get out of the maze of matter, of humanity. So it don't matter how you look at it in physical form, you're still in physical form. There is no black or white. There is no black or white. So in actuality, okay, yeah, if you have a pet and they're in your home and you love them, okay, yeah, they can evolve to be a human, okay? But those animals are nothing but mirrors and reflection of your animalistic nature, right? Because the whole thing is you're still domesticating them in human form, and they're going to be a human. The ones in the wild, what do you say about those? The ones that are actually more or less like thriving rather than surviving in your home. Because most of the time we can have certain virtues and principles such as veganism to the point that we may have a carnivorous animal and we want to turn them vegan. Right? So what are you doing in hopes of helping that animal evolve? What is true love? True love is harmony, building, right? So if you love something, you let it go, and if it's meant to be, it'll come back. Here's the thing that's crazy. I had my cats and I put them outside. They were always in my home. And I said, you know what? I'm letting them go outside, and it's up to them whether they want to stay here or go out and into the world and do what they need to do. Because they were never born in my house. They were just born in my garden, and then I happened to bring them inside and nurture, care for them until they were old enough, and then I put them outside. They never left. They're still there. All of them. Never left. Not one cat. All of the ones I put outside, I thought I was going to lose them. I was like, fuck, man, they're just going to go into different areas. They'll go into the woods, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But no, they live outside in my garden, and they actually work for me. They help balance what I need balanced in my garden. Now, yeah, a certain amount of cats may imbalance the ecosystem as well. I'm very aware of that. But I'm also not worried about what I'm not controlling outside in my garden. So it happens to be where that happened, that experience happened. I'm not attached to it, nor am I going to get stressed out about it. It's just something that's happening. I'm here. That happened. I did my part in making sure that they, grew up to a safe, age for them to be outside on their own, because they could have got eaten by any other animal. Any other predator could have ate them, coyotes, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Before they got weaned out. But even though I'm very intelligent to know still that these cats are very smart and they know where to hide until they get weaned to come out and actually venture out in the world on their own. But now the benefit is that I get to, pet them, touch them, play with them, and interact with them. When they get weaned and they're just born outside, they're not really as friendly as they are when you giving them like love, where you're actually interacting with them. You get what I'm saying? They're very, they're animals that are not like dogs. They just run away from you. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that I had them since they were young and I put them outside, they're just like animals that live outside, only they come and they're very friendly toward me. They come and greet me. When I go inside, I go inside. When I come back outside, they're there. They greet me every time I come outside. That's from a human perspective now. But they're outside doing what they need to do. Hunting, doing what they're supposed to do. They're not in my house. Let's say if I'm a vegan, I'm not forcing them a vegan diet. You know what I'm saying? They're eating what they need to eat outside, and I'll still even go and buy raw meat and throw pieces of meat at them, and they'll eat it, and they're just as happy with that as whatever it could be. But they're eating a biologically appropriate diet. So when you say woke consciousness and whatnot, to get back on topic, even how we process things. When we process the animals that we eat, okay? In the fact that if you can transmute this energy, this is why the whole concept of prayer came in. You know that you're about to bring something into your vessel, okay, that's that complex. And you know that you transmuting this energy, you can utilize that energy to your advantage. No different than if you're angry. You don't demonize the fact that you're angry, because that's such a strong energy. You can transmute that energy and channel it into something that you want to do in your life, right? So these are strong emotions. Anger, rage. You could transmute that to your advantage. Rather than exerting that energy and punching somebody in the face, you channel it. Channel that anger and transmute it and channel it into something that you want to do. It's just like if you have a strong sexual urge, you can go jerk off, right? And release that orgasm into the ethers based on the thoughts that you had. I mean, you're energizing certain realities for you there anyway. You're forming etheric cords the same way. But instead, I can use that sexual energy, harness it, and raise up that energy and channel it through my heart space, which is the projection of my reality here. I just transmuted that energy. When we talk about when we have sex with our partner, okay? When you have sex with your partner, if you're complete, she's complete, you got a harmonious chemistry going on between you, that's also power between you too. Because as much radiance as you can give her, she could give you that same radiance back. Okay? It's like a power outlet. You connected an outlet to the wall and you have an appliance working. So when you look at it from you two having a merging unit, you just made this whole world that you're experiencing light up for you in a certain way that you want. You lit up the appliance. Things are cooking for you now. You know what I'm saying? So conscious and woke, you listening to information because you look at the color of your skin, you feel proud, you're attached to humanity. You ain't getting nowhere with that. You have the physical expression of it, right? But what is that physical expression doing for you? That's like a woman. A woman is a woman. She's feminine, but some women don't have access to that feminine energy, and yet they're the direct expression of it. Men have direct access to masculine energy, yet they don't know how because they've never grasped the feminine energy. So now there's certain white people that if you speak to them, they can help light you up the same way, excite your cells the same way. Why? Because that white person may have direct access to that melanin. And how did they gain access to that melanin? Huh? It's all mental. The mind is all, the universe is mental. If I eat an animal, that animal can evolve into me, right? So, I mean, none of this stuff that you're looking at when you die, all right, there are certain viruses that can help you evolve. Okay? But it takes consciousness and awareness, and that's all done through meditation. Through meditation, you strengthen that focus muscle. You strengthen that self-awareness. All right? Where you're able to swim in the waters without drowning or getting lost in it. All right? And you know the directions. There's no directions in space. But because you're trying to get out of the maze of matter, you know what direction you need to get to. Okay? Because you don't chase the light. Okay? You can see in the dark because you are the light. You became the light body. So when you die, you'll always see your family members come toward the light, right? You'll start to see things that these are layers you'll fall into, but it's still part of the mental realm. But the same way, that's why you're feared. You're taught to fear the dark. Scary movies program you to fear the dark. Because when you're in the dark, you're looking for the first sign of light. But what happens when you can see in the dark is because you are that light body. But the light body, light can be looked at in many different ways. It could even be lighter weight. How much attachments do you have to this humanity that weighs you down and anchors you here into this dark? Because you're in darkness right now. The only thing that's lighting up your reality is that sun that you collapse into existence because that sun is you. But that inner sun in you is what animates that reality out there. Because everything you see outside of you is in you first. If not, it wouldn't exist outside of you. So that sun is already in you. Are you lighting up that sun that's inside of you, that solar plexus? That heart space is the anagram for Earth. The reality that you're projecting based on your perception about life, right? How are you managing that? Are you pointing fingers or are you taking accountability in charge of your life? Responsibility. Responsibility is how you respond to the circumstances and frequent events in your life, which determines your frequency. So, vibration, energy, frequency. There's a certain way to look at shit. You could look at particles collapse or you could look at how waves interact. Right? You could look at physical, you could look at the quantum world. Viruses, for example. Something so small, yet so large because it has such a big impact in your life. We follow astrology. Why? Because they guide. They're like a guiding system for your life, right? That's why we follow astrology. But if you look at it, the word flu comes from the word influence. Influenza is influence from the stars. So these viruses that come, man, we came such a long way. So if you start to think about the coming of Christ, the coming of Christ, the coming to save you. But when you process a virus, how do you process a virus? Do you process it the same way that you process psychoactive drugs? Because think about it. The plants have no brain and no eyes. Yet you have psychedelic altered states of consciousness. Who's having that experience? You or the plant? Is you having the experience or is the plant having the experience through your vessel? But maybe there was just a conscious transfer that's happening there, right? So when you have those viruses that are basically you coming in contact with your body, is there a conscious transfer that's happening? That virus is now having a experience or an activation through you, yet you think that you're having the observation through your body, but in kind, it's not like that. you're having the observation from source, which is not even here. This is not even a place. This is just a happening. So you're here thinking you're in this vessel, but in actuality, that virus coming in contact with you is you. And the moment you come in contact with it, okay, with this vessel, that's an alien abduction. That's an alien invasion, right? A virus needs a host to survive and to thrive, right? What do you think you're doing with this vessel right now, which is a big walking virus? A community of trillions of cells made up of trillions, hundreds of trillions of viruses, which outnumber the amount of bacteria that you have in this body. That consciousness is that virus, you, actually you, now having the experience through this vessel. But you still think you're in this body though. That's the whole thing. It's like a conscious transfer. The same way you had that experience through the plants, or the plants had the experience through you. Did you stop to think that maybe you are the mind and the brain of these plants? You are the mind and brain of these viruses as well. Viruses, there's gnarly bad viruses and there's very good viruses. Viruses are the reason for you even being here, evolved in the state you're in as a human. But to be beyond this human vessel, you got to be above man. And that's where you get the word Superman. Super means beyond or above. Superman is the symbolism of Christ when you look at it in movies. So when you look at that Christ consciousness, that's an energy that gets risen inside this vessel. This is the spaceship that's being reversed engineered in Area 51 and all this kind of shit. I'm going to make another video, but I'm going to make this disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't claim to have the information here for you correct. So do your own research. I am not saying my information is backed up by medical science or medical evidence. It is not backed up by scientific fact or scientific methods. I am my own scientist. I am my own priest. I am my own observer. Okay? And I am my own individual being. Okay? And I'm realizing that everything outside of me is an expression or a version or a reflection of me. Okay? So understand this. Do your own research. Okay? I'm not telling you viruses are good or viruses are bad. I'm not telling you that you should be happy if you catch a virus or not catch a virus, or even if you believe in catching anything. I'm not telling you none of that. Do your own research. I don't know shit. So if you like my video, like it. That would actually help my channel out a lot, and we'll talk soon.